So it turns out that the Pokemon inside Uruto's Dusk Ball is none other than a Dragonite, which is both surprising and unsurprising. It's surprising because Dragonite isn't a dark type, doesn't evolve at night, and has no connection to caves, which are all things that fit the theme of Dusk Balls perfectly. Hence why I expected that the Pokemon in the Dusk Ball would tick at least one of these boxes. However, it of course doesn't. But it's also unsurprising because Dragonite is capable of Mega Evolution, and crucially, it's one of the Pokemon that got a Mega Evolution in Pokémon Legends ZA. So the Pokemon in the Dusk Ball did end up being a Pokemon with a Mega Evolution, a new one specifically, which was another one of my predictions. I even mentioned the Dragonite and other pseudo-legendary Pokemon in my preview discussion for this episode, meaning that I wasn't too far off. In hindsight, since Mega Dragonite was the first new Mega Evolution revealed for Legends CA and the only one that was known leading into this episode, it makes perfect sense that Dragonite was chosen. Honestly, I should have seen this coming. I do have to say though that I find it bizarre that a Dragonite would be kept inside a Dusk Ball. It just doesn't suit it at all. Again, Dragonite has nothing to do with darkness, caves, or nighttime, so why store it in a Pokeball designed for that? I get wanting a special Pokeball for narrative flair, but a Dusk Ball feels oddly mismatched. Now, when the Dusk Ball finally opened and Dragonite appeared, my reaction was lukewarm. On one hand, Dragonite is one of those Pokemon that instantly evokes nostalgia. It's a classic, a symbol of the series itself, like say Pikachu and the Charizard. So seeing one is always comforting and familiar, almost like revisiting my childhood. But at the same time, I'm kind of burnt out on Dragonite. Pokemon Journeys gave us a lot of them. Ash's Dragonite, Iris's Dragonite, Lance's Dragonite. We even got a Dragonite versus Dragonite battle. Not to mention that a Dragonite appeared in an earlier episode of Horizons. So it feels like Dragonite has just been everywhere. Therefore, while this reveal should have felt monumental, it instead felt repetitive. Another Dragonite, no matter how much I might love the species, doesn't quite hit like a Pokemon that is less popular or that appears less often would have. That said, Dragonite's performance in battle was undeniably impressive. Its Hyper Beam and Dragon Rush were both stunningly animated, full of power, incredibly satisfying to watch, and used to great effect. Defeating two Laqueum-afflicted Pokemon is no small feat. This was a true spectacle, an epic showcase of unparalleled and intimidating power. Perfect for such a powerhouse of a Pokemon. Unfortunately though, the rest of the battle was just awful. The pacing was slow, the choreography sluggish, the flow awkward, and the animation terrible. Pretty much everything I've come to expect from this arc in terms of battles. Though I think this might be the worst one yet. Like, I've seen PowerPoint presentations with more movement. Now, I won't harp on this too much, since I've already ranted plenty about the many horrible battles in this arc in several of my recent reviews. Suffice it to say that, once again, Mega Voltage serves up a battle that is painful to watch, to say the least. Something I obviously do not appreciate. What I do appreciate, however, is that Dragonite only emerged when Uruto was at his lowest, when Sableye was about to be defeated and things looked hopeless. This timing tells us something important. Uruto can't simply summon Dragonite whenever he wants. which is reinforced by the fact that it is automatically withdrawn once the job is done. So it's a Pokemon that appears only when it's truly needed, namely when Uruto is in danger. More specifically, when he willingly puts himself at risk for someone else. This is clearly setting up an important dynamic between Uruto and the Dragonite that will be crucial to the story and Uruto as a character. I'm curious to see just how their relationship develops from here. Now, as for the rest of the episode, while not as important as the Dragonite reveal, it still deserves some attention. Ryu and his Grafaiai weren't the most memorable characters ever, and their struggle to survive using art isn't exactly new territory. That said, having the Pokemon be the artist instead of the trainer was a refreshing touch. The fact that Grafaiai's picky eating limited its color palette was a clever detail, and when it finally managed to eat a new type of berry, its art improved. A neat metaphor for growth and experimentation. It's a small but genuinely creative idea that made their scenes worth watching and that wonderfully leaned into Grafaiai's lore. It's especially heartwarming that at the end of the episode, Roy, Crocalor, and Cap praised their latest artwork, signaling that their efforts paid off and they will be more successful going forward. So a happy, optimistic ending. Moreover, Grafaiai was just funny, endearing, and adorable, like when it drew a portrait of Sableye, who it became good friends with. However, Ryu's decision to betray Uruto really rubbed me the wrong way. I understand that he acted out of desperation, wanting to improve his and Grafaiai's lives, but stealing from someone who helped you, confided in you, and befriended you is still wrong, no matter how noble your reason is. But at least he owned up to it and learned from his mistake, even asking Uruto to leave him behind when things took a dire turn. Uruto forgave him, however, and not only did he not run, he also chose to stand his ground and fight, displaying not just some unexpected maturity, but also impressive courage and righteousness, beautifully setting the stage for Dragonite to appear. More interesting though is the fact that this betrayal highlights something deeper about strong spheres. They don't just corrupt Pokemon, they corrupt people too. The temptation of power, recognition, or success can twist someone's morals just as easily as Laqueum corrupts a Pokemon's body. It's a subtle but meaningful layer that gives this episode some more narrative value, which is great. So overall, this episode was alright. The Dragonite reveal was both exciting and frustrating, a mix of spectacle, repetition, and questionable aesthetic choices. The battle itself was weak, though Dragonite saved it from being a total loss. Ryu and Grafaiai's subplot was fine. Nothing groundbreaking, but a creative little diversion that tied neatly into the larger theme of temptation and redemption. In the end, episode 106 is very much a mixed bag. It answered an important question and provided us with a few solid moments, but it also served up a horrible battle and a forgettable subplot, which is why it's definitely not the best episode, but also not the worst. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, feel free to click the links on screen. And if you'd like to support the channel and help me keep making content like this, you can find all the ways to do so in the description and in the pinned comment. Whether it's through a small donation or just watching and sharing, every bit of support means the world to me. Thank you so very much for watching, and let's meet again in the next video.